voice of Austin, 88.7 FM.
The views and opinions throughout KAZI's broadcast day are not necessarily the views or opinions of KAZI's board, staff, underwriters, or volunteers.
Welcome to ZUMBI, a monthly conversation with artists, activists, and scholars whose work is influenced by the richness of Black life in Austin and around the world. Your host is writer and community curator Stephanie L. Lane.
Support for KAZI.
Good morning, KZI listeners. Again, this is ZUMBI, named after Afro-Brazilian freedom fighter Zumbi dos Palmares. And as always, I am your host, Stephanie Lane. And with me, though we can't hear him because he's making it happen, on the other side is the one and only DJ Slice.
Good morning, ladies. How you doing?
You are full of surprises. I didn't think I'd be able to hear you. Good morning. And I just have to say before we get started with our wonderful show and our guest who is waiting in the wings, I just want to personally thank DJ Slice, thank KZI, especially thanks Steve Savage for not only, making a way out of no way, as we always know how to do as a community, but also just being so patient with me. I will say I am technologically challenged. And when they were like, okay, this is going to be on Skype, took me a minute to figure it out, and they were both very patient with me. And so in light of everything going on, I just appreciate that. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes. And also wanted to just acknowledge Eric Q, who is a most amazing intern with me with the Center for Community Engagement, who is helping me kind of figure out how we can promote this show on a larger platform, because we're doing some amazing work here. So I just wanted to shout out Eric. And now we will turn our attention to our guest for the morning. So this is somebody that has returned. She was with us before. First came here a few years back. I would say a new arrival to Austin. Now she is seasoned.
Yeah.
Yes, and doing important work in the community. So want to welcome back to ZUMBI. And I'm going to say your full name. You put your full name on this, I'm going to say it. Hopefully I'm saying it right. KYmberly Maisha Dion Keeton. Yes! All right. Oh! Yes. Yes. And DJ Slice, I don't think you were the one that ran the show last time.
Yeah, I believe I was.
Were you? Okay.
I believe I was.
There.
Yes.
Okay. So Ms. Keeton is a writer, a librarian, an archivist, a genealogy curator, and a creative mixologist. Now, I have to ask you what a creative mixologist is.
Are you asking me? Okay, I'll wait.
I will. I'm about to ask you, but just a little bit more now. There is quite a bit that you have accomplished and done, and so we're going to spend most of the time just talking. But just to give you a little information, she holds an MLS in library science and information technology, got a graduate certificate in digital content management from my alma mater, North Texas. Go Eagles. Let's see. Graduate student librarian practicum certification of completion. I'm trying to scroll through I may be missing some things, I know, but your bachelor's was in English, creative writing from the University of Houston. And you have a Spanish language certificate. Yeah. From the Cucalan Spanish Educational Community in Mexico. You learn so much about folks. Yeah. So again, there are many things that you're doing. There's many positions that you hold. I know you're an arts commissioner, City of Austin. You've been doing that since 2019. Counselor at large for the American Library Association. Many, many things. As well, I know that one of the reasons we know you and you're here is you are the African American community archivist and librarian for the Austin History Center and Austin Public Library. And again, there's just so much to tell. Even around that work, you've done all types of programming that we're going to get into. So to do that, why don't we start with, you should be familiar with this since you've been a guest before, is it's giving us a little bit of history as to your journey, like what brought you to this work as a genealogist and as archivist and a librarian.
Well, I guess I can say I feel like now that I'm seasoned in Austin and grown a little bit more within myself, I think going forward with interviews, I will say and always say that as a writer, always knew I would struggle in the United States as far as being a creative writer. And all of the writers before me, African-American writers, James Baldwin, Toni Morrison, Audre Lorde, Nikki Giovanni, Kwame Alexander, all of these people had to figure out, how am I going to eat by day to be who I truly am? So I wanted to choose a field that I knew I would fall in love with. And at first I thought it would be cultural anthropology. And I really got into it, applied at my alma mater at the University of Houston, and I wasn't accepted into graduate school, nor at the University of Texas at Austin. So I had to go back to the drawing board and really think about what was for me. And at that point, I was following in the footsteps of Zora Neale Hurston, and pretty much everyone that I knew as a writer wanted to. So I think I was working 3 jobs when I was in Houston, right when I graduated. And one day I was just in my studio space, and I just kid you not, on my laptop screen, it was just the word librarian flashed across the screen. And then I just started looking around my studio space, and I just saw all of these books, and where they were just archived in different places. And so I was like, okay, we may have something with this right here. So I prayed, and then I immediately went to a library information session at the University of Houston that Texas Women's University was hosting. And that was back in 2013. And 2011. Yeah, 2011. And from then on is history. And I believe I found that place in life that often we struggle to find as creative people. And I think it was probably, I know it was probably one of the best decisions that I ever made in my life. Wow.
That's a journey.
Yes.
Definitely. Yes.
It was a journey. And I think it's it's probably one of the top 5 in my life as far as being able to make decisions on my own as well, and then accomplishing what I set out to do.
Right. So thinking about, all the things, and thank you that you shared with us and the work that you're doing now. So let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about some of the many programs, and I would actually use the word initiatives that you've created at your time with Austin History Center. And, again, how that kind of centers, your journey and the different parts of your work, right? As a writer and as someone that's very much, identifies as a librarian, as an archivist, and all of these different identities that you hold. How does this kind of intersect with the different projects and conferences and work that you're doing?
Well, I think for me, how you start doing something in life and you never have a name for it. So I always knew what archivists, what they did, and being that I've always been in tune with technology. I've been a digital archivist all my life. Well, I wouldn't say all of my life, but the vast majority of my adult life, I've archived information. And I would just like to give a shout out to Literature Magazine, which was one of the first publications that I was able to work with a big community virtually in which we couldn't touch each other. And I was able to collect articles, images, and just came up with this idea for a creative magazine. So moving fast forward from 2000 to 2020, and well, let's say 2018, and I accept this position or this appointment as the African American Community Archivist. I feel like as a librarian, a Black librarian, I only know what I know. And I feel like that my education prepared me and my life experiences prepared me to be a librarian as well as to be a historian. Historian being that I have the opportunity to document narratives. I have the opportunity to collect oral histories. I have the opportunity to be a voice of a community now. I have the opportunity to be a part of the community in this way, such as this morning. And I never knew an archivist could be, like, I would say in that world, it's heavily populated by Caucasian people. So when you look at it from that premise, most archivists are behind the scenes. And that's not my innate nature. Like, I'm a very bubbly person. I love people. I love life. You know, I like being a part of the party. I like being the center of attention, you know, and I think that comes with being a leader. Mm-hmm. And I think in being in my position, I feel like I've transformed it, because a lot of times I have a lot of community members that will tell me, you know, we've had previous archivists, you know, we've met other African American community archivists, and I thank God for those people who came before me and helped shape this position. But you've added a little bit something different to it. And I think that's just my personality and being personable, being able to have conversations with people from all different levels of life, and being okay with sitting with someone who's homeless as well as sitting with the mayor, you know. And I think that comes with a skill, also with understanding that my role as a community archivist is to be more of a person who understands what outreach is, right, as well as understanding how to shape the narrative of the Black community's history at this juncture in the 21st century.
And that's important. Okay, well, definitely more with you. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
At home, in your car, online, at KAZIFM.org. We are the voice of Austin, 88.7 FM.
All right, and we're back with our guest this morning, Kymberly Keeton, archivist, we say it a little different, archivist, a librarian with the Austin History Center, who is we were just talking before the break about kind of, you know, more about your role and how you approach it, especially being a community liaison. And so let's talk about that. I mean, as you know, and many of our listeners, hopefully, you know, history, chronicling, preserving the history of Austin, and specifically Black Austin, is something that's near and dear to my heart. So I would love for listeners to kind of hear more about that work that you're doing, and then kind of leading into this amazing, would you say, conference that happened, wow, what seems so long ago now, February, right? So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, your work in the community.
Okay. Roxy wants to say hi. I'm sorry.
Hi, that was fine. Roxy Blue, this is your doggy.
Yes. Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and it's real, y'all. I mean, everybody knows working from home. This is real. My dog just ran in here and jumped up on my lap as well. So it's real. This is real. So go ahead.
So I guess continuing on about, I don't know, my role. First of all, I would like to let the audience know that the position that I am in, I consider it to be a historical moment in time for my life, being that there are only 2 African-American community archivists in the United States. The other is situated at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And I actually had the opportunity to meet with Gabrielle Dudley when I was at the California Rare Book School at UCLA this past summer. And, you know, sometimes it's just so interesting how you meet other people doing the work that you're doing, but you approach it from 2 different standpoints. Her being that she's in academia, me being that I'm actually with the city of Austin. And we come with different ways of how we approach the community, different ways of how we do outreach, different ways of how we narrate history. And I had to sit down and really think about that and understand. And I'm grateful for the other 2 African-American archivists in the city of Austin, Rachel Winston as well as Danielle McGee at Houston Tillotson. And we all come to this position in a different way. And I think for me, being a part of the community, I felt like it was work because I took a lot of people out for coffee when I got here. And I still do. I still have those coffee meetings. Right. But I felt like it was important because you know how sometimes people have this notion in their mind because we're Black that I can just ease into a community and I'm going to be accepted. And that's not true about Austin, Texas, number one, people. And I'm from Fort Worth. Like, I had to work for the notoriety that I have today. And I still have to work. Like, I'm not going to say I'm not accepted into, well, I don't know everyone. Right. And I don't think you ever know everyone. So I feel like there's so much more for me to learn in my role, like how I met you. I think I met you the first week I met you like the 4th day I was here, and able to go into the UT Black Studies department my first week that I was here, and to see that there's African American art, there is a strong Black community at one of the major institutions in Texas. I met someone who does know her history, and you know, not just your history as far as African American history, but you know, the history of Austin. And many African American people do not know the history from whence they came, as far as the radius that they were born in. Right. So that's one thing that I would say I've learned as an archivist from the community in Austin, is that a lot of people not only know their family history, but they know the history of this city. You know, I'm talking about going back to the 1800s. Right. My first week, I was able to do 2 oral histories, and I was just schooled about East Austin. Like, I think my first month, that's all it was just in my ear everywhere I went. Right. And I'm very appreciative of that, because I don't think I would be able to do the type of programming that I do without knowing that history.
Right, definitely. That's very important and well said. So thinking about that, one of the things that I think makes your job even more important is the fact that, you know, the history and the legacy of historical Black communities in Austin is that history is being erased, right, by, you know, gentrification and displacement. And so, you know, it seems like your work is even more important and time sensitive, you know. So in these few minutes that we have left, it always amazes me how quickly these go, especially when you and I get to talking. But so let's let the listeners know about the genealogy conference, and then would like to save a few minutes to kind of talk about some resources for folks. Okay.
So the African American Growing Your Roots 2020 inaugural genealogy conference happened January 30th through February 2nd. And I feel like it's one of the biggest accomplishments of my life. You were a part of this work that started in June of 2019. And I don't even think we, in our minds, you know how like you don't see it, but it actually happened. And I am just forever grateful for just the city of Austin. I'm just going to name off a few people really quick. Of course, Daphne Lane, Jacoby Smith, Danielle McGee, I just said your name, Rosalind Oliphant, Peggy Price, Betsy Evans, Doreen Boyd, Melissa Rogers. These are just a few people who were a part of the think tank that we had, where we basically just planned the conference just off the cuff, I would say. And that 4-day weekend produced 2 African-American exhibitions. There were a variety of workshops, panels. People came back, I think, from the woodwork that people hadn't seen in a long time and got to hug each other. I just think it was, for me as an organizer, it was just a moment in time that I think Austin needed. And I believe it needs to continue to happen. And what I don't know, based off of what is happening in society right now. I'd like to say that I am continuing the initiative with Growing Your Roots. I will be hosting a webinar on April 10th, focusing on helping you continue to find your history. So if you were not able to attend the conference, I am marketing right now a genealogy webinar where I will be able to help you for free.
That's great. And how, again, would folks get information about the genealogy webinar and to stay in the know about any upcoming, programming, especially, you mentioned, this digital world is your thing. So you are as active or almost more active, it seems like, if that's possible, online. So how can people connect with you? And also, what are some other resources? I know that you have been very active on social media, providing information to people on, check this out, check that out. Even the Austin History Center, you all are online as well, correct?
So for those who are interested in the webinar, just about your history in general, please go to Facebook and just type in the search engine Austin History Center. And there you will find a listing of all of our events. For everyone. This is open to everyone, what I host. Then I would say, as far as resources are concerned, I would go back to that same channel, Austin History Center, or you can personally follow me at Kim, KYM is IZSOFLY, which is Kim is SoFly. And that's on Facebook or Instagram. And what I've been doing, I've just been posting, I feel like, just information for everyone. Like, I'm not just centrally focusing on Austin personally on what I provide the community. But I would say that there are a plethora of educational resources as far as JSTOR, as far as Project News. If you're a scholar and you need to download articles right now, you can't get in contact with the database. They're allowing you to download as much as possible for free, really until this summer. I would utilize my public library card. If you're a genealogy guru, the Austin Public Library is allowing all citizens, residents of Austin, Texas, to utilize Ancestry at home, which is unprecedented. So I would definitely take up that resource. And also, if you don't have Netflix, we at the Austin Public Library offer you Canopy, which you're able to stream 10 movies a month at this juncture. Once we open back up, it'll go back down to 5. But right now you can stream 10 movies a month, and all you need is your library card. And the same films that you see on Netflix, We have even more through Canopy, as well as documentaries, something for your children. And then I would just say that if you're interested in telling your story, or you have something that you want the world to always remember you by, the Austin History Center has put together a repository, COVID-19 files, and we are collecting stories from all communities, which you can learn more about that via our Facebook page.
Okay. So everybody, that was a lot of really good information. And again, let's hit them with how to get a hold of you in general one more time.
So my tagline pretty much on social media is Kim is so fly. That's KYMIZSOFLY. And if you want to leave me a message in regards to the Austin History Center, just go to their Facebook page and you can just leave a message and they will forward that information to me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join me on ZUMBI and for the work you're doing in the community. I, thought that the conference was really important. I enjoyed it. I look forward to more. It really was like a homecoming. And so, if there's ways to support in the future, definitely let us know and we will spread the word. Again, these resources that you shared are very valuable and important, especially right now, right? Thinking about, how to continue to engage with others and reading and connecting. It's very vital all the time, but especially now. So again, thank you so much for being on ZUMBI. Thank you everyone for listening. This is Stephanie. Stay safe, stay in place, and until next time. Bye.
You've been listening to ZUMBI with host Stephanie L. Lang on KAZI 88.7, The Voice of Austin. ZUMBI is brought to you with support from the John L. Warfield Center for African and African American Studies and the Center for Community Engagement, two vibrant cultural institutions at the University of Texas at Austin. The views and opinions expressed on ZUMBI may not reflect those of KAZI or the University of Texas at Austin.